Welcome back to Beyond the Numbers. I'm your host, Kyra Collins, and today's episode is one that I think so many ladies are definitely going to connect with. And I wanted to share with you to start that in a recent study done by JAMA Internal Medicine, it revealed that the percentage of mothers reporting excellent mental health has dropped from 38% to 26%. And that's since 2016, so less than 10 years. The steepest decline, though, was among single moms. And that's just not a stat, right? There's something going on behind that data. And so that's why I feel this conversation today is going to be very important. I'm going to be joined today by my good friend, Althilia Moore, mental health professional, to unpack this new data research and what brought us to this topic and why we thought this was such a good time to discuss it was because the new Tyler Perry film Straw just came out. And that story is not just about a mother that's grieving. It's a reflection of what so many women are living and trying to hold on to everything, trying to hold up everything, and trying to keep families together when they are themselves feeling like they're falling apart. So this episode is about naming that weight we carry, finding space, right, to breathe, and then learning how to heal and giving some good insights on how to heal and how to move forward without breaking, without literally coming undone. So I'm so excited. Welcome back. Let's go beyond the numbers. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much.
I'm doing good. You brought this topic up, and I'm so excited about it because it resonates with me for sure. And so I'm so glad you brought it up to me. Today, guys, for those of you who haven't seen the movie Straw, number one, go see it. Tyler Perry did a great job with that. It's starring Taraji P. Henson. And so this film follows a single mom who's navigating a deep emotional loss while trying to stay strong for her family and her daughter. And so it resonated with me for sure. Struck me at my core because I am a girl mom. And I wanted to ask you, friend, what stood out to you most about this story? Because you brought it to me. You saw it first. So what stood out to you emotionally or otherwise? What stood out?
It's very heartbreaking to know that, women can live in this much isolation, while still being expected and also willing to have the jobs and the roles to be a mother. And the pain that women endow day in and day out, not even for themselves, but for their children, right? Their relationships, because the children have fathers too. And Taraji's role in this film is just known. So very emotional, very relatable to me. It is me. Mm-hmm. It was me. It's still gonna be me because of that part in my life, that totally is all of me, right? And Taraji, Sherry Shepherd, Tiana, they killed it. All right. They just busted because it was girl power and different powers. And this is something we really don't see because we really don't understand it, because when it does come up like this, it's a beautiful thing. It's something that is so needed.
Yeah.
And so there's just so many takeaways that I had from it. And for me, it's like of course, I'm always overly excited, I think. But when I can watch something like this, that film, that was education for me. That's the education I need in my life. That's the education I want my family to have. Because it's relatable. It's
not just a movie.
It's not
just a movie.
And a bunch of sound bites, very fiction. The emotions.
I'm with you. I'm with you on it. Definitely think that is not just a movie. It is so real. I think so many women could identify with that. I think so many single moms can identify with that. And I personally felt very moved by it. And I do hope a lot of other women see it. And I loved that you pointed out Sherry Shepherd and Tiana's roles, because although they weren't, they speak to a part of us too, especially the law enforcement part of it, and her being in that role and what it takes to be, especially an African American woman in law enforcement. And then I thought Sherry Shepherd's role, just even as the professional and the bank and just all the roles and all the different, things that we have. Yeah. So it was so good.
Because,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Sherry's role in itself, even Tiana's role. Now, can we talk and just bite on a little bit of just the workplace aggressions, microaggressions? Because you're a Black female working in these high elite roles, and it's almost like, you're expected not to care about someone that doesn't sort of look like they make the dollars that you make.
Now you're touching on something.
Because
yeah.
and that's going to be down the road.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that. But this is why this part of the film was so important, because there's so many dynamics there that we have to touch on at some point in order for to collaborate.
I agree.
Yeah.
I felt like this movie is good for a panel discussion too, because it was just so good. But I am gonna pick your brain. I am. So let's dig into, since you brought that up, let's dig into the mental health side, because I know we said with this episode we actually wanted to make sure that we were giving some actual insights to our listeners to share with their family members or even for themselves. And I wanted to dig into the mental health side. And I know you've talked about before about the importance of naming basically how we feel and what we're going through and the load that we sometimes feel that we carry. And I wanted you to just take a few minutes, if you would please, for us, and share some of the mental health. Share some of the mental health takeaways you see here matter so much, and some of the things that you wanted to share with our listeners.
And spinning off from the film, and also from just the roles that we have in our individual professional realm, financials, mental health, interconnected, as far as our discussions. And what I think about in terms of all of that is the need for counterbalance. This is very hard I'm talking about, so I won't talk too much about it. But even when I say it, you can feel that.
For sure,
I think it sounds like it's loaded. Sometimes we have to stand in that sandwich of all of. I love when you always say
the things, girl. It's the things. So I'm gonna have to keep
that with you. And all of the things, right? And being in that sandwich. And when you're having just unbalanced emotions and situations that don't have resolution.
So true.
It's problematic. On a given day, right? And here's an exercise for all of us to do. I could have waited till we were ready to close, but I'm going to go for it now. And then I'll give us an early takeaway, a partial one. And here's my question. On a given day, I want you to think about, literally, I want you to analyze yourself and think about what your mind is telling you and what your body is feeling. So come on, Kyra, be not my guinea pig, but throw 2 words out there for me and go with the tip of your tongue. I want to know what thought comes to you really quick, and then I want something that you feel in your body right now.
My mind first, I would say overwhelm.
Okay. Yep.
That's the first thought.
The first.
And body, I would say, I hate to say this, but exhausted.
There you go. Thank you for
I
being
hate
my
to
first
say it, but it's the truth, friend. It's the truth.
Yeah. And you
Mm-hmm.
see, but even right there for me, like your words, they actually are in the same, they're together. It's sort of,
Yeah.
it makes sense, because if your thoughts are overwhelmed, guess what? The cycle only tells the body what to feel, and then the body tells the mind what to think,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were to counterbalance your thoughts being overwhelmed and also your
Mm-hmm.
body feeling exhausted, you're standing now. I want you to picture yourself standing in the middle of both of those things. What you gonna
Mm-hmm.
do? What can you do?
Only thing I can think is probably disconnect and take a break, maybe rest, try to
Mhm.
disconnect. I would think. I think it's so hard, to think in the moment, but now that you're saying it to me, it's like you need to disconnect
Yeah. Me,
somewhere and
I'll
take a
tell you.
break.
Yeah, straight up, I'm going to sleep. So I'm not up for at least for a moment. I'm going to sleep, but
Yeah.
now when we can draw from the film, Taraji was in these two things and more, right?
Yeah.
She's, we're
Yeah.
not going to give the movie pieces because we want everyone to
No,
watch
no, we
it.
want everybody to see it. Yes.
But she was standing, these are two things right now that you can call out. And then there is something too, Kyra. It's something where what you just shared with me and to all of us is your conscious level. And then there's a
Yeah.
such thing as your subconscious.
So true. Oh my goodness. I love this
So
stuff.
we'll leave that for
Yes.
everyone to comment and give us
Yes.
their body feel and their thought in their mind. Put it in the
Come on, you
comments.
guys. I'm going to leave it in the show notes, guys, as a reminder. But body, how you feel, how you feeling, and then what
One
is the
thing,
thought
just one thing.
process?
Yeah. And
Got me
what's your
together
thoughts around it?
quick.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. I love that so much. I love that so much. You know why I love it? I think the most is because it's easy. It's easy. And I think sometimes we think, trying to figure out our mental health and trying to diagnose what exactly are we feeling and what's happening with us has to be hard. And it's got to be all of this unpacking and, 40 hours of therapy. But what you just said was something everyone can do right now they don't even need a person to do that. They can do that right now by themselves, going for a walk in their car, driving, listening to this. When they get home on the way to bed, they can do that action. Like and that's the best thing I think is that it's easy. It's easy to do.
Yeah. And you know where I want them to walk? I want them to walk through the park and come straight to your door to get some financial
Come on. Well,
education.
since you brought
and
it up.
support.
So since you brought it up, okay, let's talk about the money, because that's the biggest thing I think I took away from it, because I can totally identify with feeling overwhelmed. And I want to say this, not just feeling overwhelmed on a level of meeting the needs of our families or our children, but also the financial overwhelm that we feel to meet the wants of our kids. Because I think we are pressured to want to give our kids some of their wants because we want them to have a lot of the things that we didn't have. And sometimes, I know I do it for sure, I get confused with meeting needs of my girls and their wants.
Yes.
I get those two crossed sometimes. And I know for a fact, even when working with clients and when we start talking about a wealth strategy, and I'm always like, okay, this is the fun part because we get to create a wealth strategy. And I think that sounds so cool and sexy, and people love it when they hear I'm doing a wealth strategy. But when I talk about budgeting and cutting back, people go, wait a minute, that don't sound wealthy to me. So I think what first has to happen is we have to understand that financial stress, and you said it earlier because you said they're intertwined, but financial stress isn't separate from emotional stress.
Right.
They go hand in hand. And when you're a single parent, I feel like there's no off switch when you're a single parent because you're the person constantly in the loop with your kids and your family and yourself. There's no other person to come along and walk aside you and kind of carry that bag. So you never get to like hit the switch on financial overwhelm when you're a single parent.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I wanted to say is that I hope everybody who's feeling this, and I think most people are feeling it, is that money is emotional. And the first thing you have to realize is that your relationship with your money It's probably from somewhere deep from when you were a kid or how you grow up. And you're blaming yourself for your spending habits. Maybe you're blaming yourself right now for your financial status. But I want people to stop blaming themselves for that, because most of the reasons why you do the things you do with your money, the way you spend or don't spend or whatever it could be, is because it comes from how you were raised or what you were taught. And so the first thing you got to do is give yourself some compassion, like forgive yourself, you know what I mean? So that you can heal that relationship you have with money, so that you can create a new one. So you can't be sitting around always talking about, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Dang, I should have did better. Give yourself a break on that. Let's move forward. Let's realize you probably got a learned behavior somewhere, and now you need to do something different. So that's the first thing I always say. Forgive yourself. We're moving forward. It's a new day. And then the other thing is budgeting. When you have to do a budget, it's not about sacrifice. It's not about what you're getting rid of. It's about giving your dollars a purpose so that you can have more of what really matters to you. So when you have a budget, it's not about, I'm not going to buy anything. I'm not going to do anything. It's not about that. It's really about, I'm going to make my money work so well for me that I do have the money available to do what matters to me most. Because a lot of times we're doing all of the things with our money and our money just doesn't have a purpose. And so when somebody comes to you, they go, well, you got to quit doing that. And so that's the first thing you think is, oh, I got to quit buying all the things I like. No, you got to decide, what do you like most and what matters to you most, so that we can make your money work for you there. And then you can live your life comfortable over here. So that's my 2 takeaways from that. Because I know it's pressure. You know, it's not always like, I know we have so many women, especially now, that are high earners. They make great money, but they still don't have wealth. And so, you know, this isn't just for someone who's like check to check and barely getting by. This is for women professionals like me and you, who still, you know, we do pretty well for ourselves and we have a lot of success and a lot of accomplishments, but we still don't feel like we have that wealthy status, and we still got some work to do, you know, financial. Yeah. So that's some of the financial things I would suggest. I did see this. I didn't want to include that. I'm always looking for some data to include, but these were, I thought were really good. And it said 81% of single parents report their financial health as less than very good. That's like a recent poll that was done. And I'll link that in the show notes so you guys can see where that came from. And then only 1 in 3 Americans track a monthly budget. I was like, okay, that one made sense to me, because I don't think a lot of people do that. And I know I didn't do it for a very long time, but only 1 in 3 people know where their money's going on a monthly basis. And this was the best part. But when single moms received just 9 weeks of financial coaching, they saw improvement, not only in stress, but in physical health.
I just wanted to ask you that question. Like, well, first, let me go back to why I want to ask the question, because for me, I know budgeting has always in the past been like a nightmare for me to sit there and go in that darkness alone. I'm like, I don't want to do this by myself. It just changed my mood, no matter how many times I went and tried to attempt to sit down and do it. It's not until these recent years that I'm able to sit there and do a budget and just, I'm all confident and I'm like, oh, okay, put that number there. And, you know, all the years it took. But this is why, you know, professionals like you are so important for us, especially
thank you.
Women and females, because to do something, it's intimidating to do a budgeting list by yourself. You're going to have tears, frustrations, anger, upset, all the emotions that are there are going to come up.
Yeah.
But if I'm online with you and I have my paperwork in front of me, or if I'm in your office with you, because guess what? In our communities, our homes, this has been a very hush thing. I don't really know a lot of aunts, aunts and my godmothers and people like that have been so open with their purse, what's in that purse. Yeah. I know I come from women that have always said, keep my business
Come on.
private. Don't be
Come
out there
on.
telling people what we got and don't got. No, it's been a very timid sort of presentation
Yes.
for the women that I know that come before me. Now that we have women like you that literally you look like us and you have this, you're in this different sector that you understand and that you can really support us. And first of all, just accept what's going to be put on that paper and not have any judgment on us.
No. Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I think we both recognize that mental health and financial coaching and things like that go together, because I do think part of the problem, you said it so well when you said going through it alone. And it's the same thing with mental health. I think having a therapist, I think sometimes it is very hard to unpack things that are painful alone. And having somebody who's not going to pass judgment. And you know how I feel about having women of color in mental health capacities is so important, because you just said it, having someone who looks like you to talk through your issues and make you feel like you're not the only one or something's not wrong with you is so important. And for me, I think why I love coaching and the financial aspect of it is because I have been there. I have been that mom, just like, I don't really know what I'm going to do, and just feeling hopeless and not really seeing a path forward. I have been there so many times, more than than I can
that's real,
count.
Kyra. That's real.
Yeah, I've
That's
really
real
been
right
through
there.
it so hard. And I tell people all the time, I have had help.
Yeah.
I didn't do it alone. I had help, and
Me
I
too.
don't want to see people do it alone. I don't. I want to see people get the help and heal inside and realize, like, I don't got to keep walking around like this. I don't have to keep carrying this load. And when I think about Taraji's character, she made me think about a person who just is carrying a bunch of bags, like carrying so many things. And then at one point, somebody just added one more brick in the bag, and then the bag just broke. She just broke, the bag broke, like, and that's what I feel like with her. And so I think this episode is about us saying, before the bag breaks, before it breaks, we got some things for you to do to help you. We don't want to see the bag break on you. We don't want to see you fall down. So I know you're so good at tools. I know basically when I first met you, one of the best things was you gave a tool out that you used it actually right there when I was in the meeting and you were speaking. And so I go back to it all the time, and you know what it is because I've told you about it. But I wanted you gave out us the 2 questions. Is there any other mental health or wellness tool that you would suggest implementing for our listeners? Something that you would say, here's something you can do every day. I know you did give us the 2 questions. That was our little sneak. But is there anything else that you would want to say you think people should do?
So I want to, it may be a little bit unhelpful, but I think it is helpful because when we're talking about these things like this, and we're talking about intensified feelings and things we don't want to feel or things we don't want to think about or thoughts, right? That we prefer not to have.
Yeah.
I'll take it to my spiritual understanding. You will hear in church where the pastor or the bishop will say, if our faith in God will tell us to say that thing and live now like that thing after we've prayed on it. So I know you heard,
so
I know
good.
you've
So
been told
good. I
this
know
in
where
the
you're
church
going.
before.
Yes.
Yeah. Be that thing that you say you are in faith, right? And God's understanding and his will and way. So I'm going to take that and put it into a mental health practice.
Yeah. I love that.
You could, and we do call this, it is a technique that we use. It's like guided imagery.
Yes.
You can imagine in those moments whatever you want existentially. No one can't tell you that because you're feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, burnt out, right? All these other feelings, you
Yes.
still could imagine yourself there for the
Yeah.
moment. Just,
Yeah.
I mean, if Taraji, when she was standing in the place, I'm not going to say the movie, but
Yeah.
when she was standing there and receiving all this rejection, she literally could have imagined something else. But
True.
now, am I saying that's going to change the circumstance? No, because the circumstance still needs to come
Yeah.
vicariously through the work.
Yeah.
Sitting and having those
Yeah.
appointments with your financial advisor,
Yeah.
seeing your therapist, talking to, processing and reprocessing. Grief and trauma has to have its time. It has to
Yes.
have its words. It has to have its support. It has to have its processing.
Yeah.
So why not? If you're so alone and you find yourself so isolated, we don't want the bag to break, nor do we want it to snowball.
So true.
We want to
Yeah.
stop both processes because the big to do is the when it breaks. That's
Yeah.
what trauma is,
Yeah.
right? The transmitter has broken. All right. I know I'm going a little deep, but I'll stop there. So
No, you are like right on it. Yep. Yeah.
yeah. So we done
I
work
mean,
that thing and work that thing and work that thing so much,
yeah,
it's snowballed. That
it
same
is.
thought, yeah, that just
Yep.
keeps penetrating. And from the same problem that keeps revisiting you morning, noon, and night in our
Mm,
single mama streets. Because,
yeah.
like you said, when we're single mothers and there's single women out there with not one, two, three, it doesn't, one child can bring
Yeah.
that female, that woman, to pretty much her bed to lay down and not even be able to move. It's so much stress,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
the relationships that she has are all dependent on her.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That's
Imagine if
heavy.
yeah. I love meditation. I love breathing, deep breathing, belly breathing, polyvagal. I love all of it. I do it all.
Yeah.
We can practice those things forever because
Yeah.
we want to take advantage of any temporarily relief we can get. But then we don't want to
Yes.
leave out that when you can see the vision board yourself in front of you
Mhm.
already made, you can
Yeah.
live that thing. And guess what? Now you can breathe longer. You could walk slower. You could take your
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
You could lower some of those pressures to get through that day.
And I think that's the most important part about it is that sometimes you just need a relief, like something that you
Yeah.
can do that'll give you a little more relief so that you can push forward in your
Mhm.
journey. And like you said, I feel like it is true that things take time. And you're
Yeah.
not going to fix everything all at once. I hope those who are listening, if it's someone who's just feeling like, I cannot take one more thing,
Mm.
we get it. We totally understand where you're coming from and
Mhm.
give yourself the permission to take a minute and imagine, just like you just said, imagine that you're somewhere else or you're on the other side of whatever this thing is. Just
Mhm.
imagine yourself on the other side of it and take a minute to just step away. And I know that's hard, but do it. Do it for yourself. Do it for
Mhm.
your loved ones too, because I do know it's hard. I mean, we say these things, but I just want whoever is listening, I want you to know that we're not saying it from a place of like, a professional telling you what to do. I think we both are saying it from personally also, that this is what we've done and what we continue to do
Yeah.
for our own personal wellness. So
Yeah, we would never ask you to do
yeah,
something we haven't even tried ourselves or have
nah.
done.
I wouldn't, because you know what? I know, first of all, I done been through a lot of things. So, and I know that I can't stand that when people are telling me stuff and it's like, you wouldn't even try that yourself. Like, come on,
Right.
give me something that works. I know for me, I feel like the imagining the imagery and the guided imagery, and imagining yourself somewhere is part of what I do all the time because I like to walk and I like to be outside. And that's
Um,
kind of my time to be in another. I kind of like when I'm away and I'm walking, especially hiking, I feel like when I'm in the woods, I kind of try to imagine that I'm somewhere away and I'm somewhere away from all of the things, and that's my
mhm.
moment to just kind of imagine I'm somewhere else and I don't have a lot of worry and I can just
Yeah.
take my time and walk. And so I love that I hope people use it. I think financially, if I had to give a tip, a takeaway, the first thing I would say to people to do, because I know sitting down, going through your finances is very hard, but just sit down and look at your monthly bills and just ask yourself, when you spend, how much of your money is on your needs, your wants, and your savings. And it's a quick little tip. It's always, I remember it 5-3-2. So it's 50% you should spend on your needs, and then there's 30% that you should spend on your wants, and then 20% on savings and debt. That is the easiest way, I think, to remember it, because I think it's hard when you're starting to try and figure out, well, what should I spend, on, like what should I be spending on my wants? Now, the reason why I love this is because it gets you to decide what's a need and what's a want. Because I think that's where we get confused. We're calling needs wants, and we're calling maybe, wants needs. And then savings and debt, we never even see a possibility that we could be saving some money or paying off debt because we got the needs and the wants confused. The other thing is the number part that goes along with this, the 50, 30, and the 20 is really significant, because you could tweak those numbers, but the idea is that if you have 50% of your money going to your wants, that's probably an issue, because then that means that, or if you got, 30% going to your needs, and, like if things aren't balanced in the right way, that's probably why you feel this tightness in your chest when you got to pay a bill every month. So the first thing we usually have to do with everybody is go, okay, where's the money going? Because once we can get this 5-3-2 figured out, now we can play around with, what is a need for you? What is a want for you? Like for me, a need for me is my physical health now. It used to be a want, but now it's a need. So I've made that part of I have to have these things for my physical health, because it's part of my overall health for me to live and perform and, be productive as a human being every day. So I think once we go through that exercise, so if you want to do that at home, just think about that. 50% of my money or my income goes to my needs, 30% goes to my wants, and then 20 to my savings. Sometimes people say until they get some debt, paid off, or a savings built up, maybe you don't get 30% of your wants. Maybe the 30% goes to your debt or your savings, and you only get 20% of your wants. So that's my little tool. I love that one. That's what I use. I use it all the time, because my wants start to turn into needs a little too often. I got some gold heels I'm eyeing right now that I totally feel like I need them. Like, I need these. They go so well with so many things. And it's like, girl, you do not need those doggone shoes. Those are a want. But,
I had to buy mine a couple of months ago, Kyra. They were a need. They're still a need. They're still in the box. I keep looking at them. I'm going to have to, I have to encourage you there. You need the gold heels, because.
It's so terrible. Why would you say this to me?
I know.
You're supposed to tell me no.
I know I want to, but it's like, I really want you to
have
girl,
you need them, girl. I know. Thank you, my friend. I'm going to purchase them and buy them, and then I'll show them to you. I'll send you a picture of them. I'm going to wear them Saturday.
Okay, so, and this will help too. Like you said, this will help you to rationalize it, because you can wear them multiple things, multiple times. And that should help with the purchase.
That should help with my mind and why I'm telling myself I need them.
Exactly.
Oh, gosh. See, guys, it's right here. You're seeing it happen. I get how you feel, because I do it all the time, right? Oh, man.
And can I just add really quick, because I know a lot of women are going to watch this. Yeah. And I know you focus on women's financial, because that's, your area. Yeah. I just want to add, I'm not a financial coach or advisor like Kyra, but one thing I know about her, she has a plan for you.
Yeah.
We're not leaving anyone out. So I want to say, and you probably haven't heard this anywhere, because it's not common, what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
even her 40, 30, 20 rule,
Yes.
you may not have a 2-1-2 rule. I don't know.
Of course.
We're talking to single mamas. So you're going to wheel it
Hello.
in with what you got. And if it's not coming in to make up a 50, 30, 20, I want you to see, Kyra. I want you
Come
to
on,
pull out,
friend. Look at my
because
friend
guess
showing
what?
up for me.
Everything comes with and starts with acknowledgement.
And
And
a
you can
conversation.
have
Yes.
$500 a month and you
Yeah.
can write out a budget and you can write
That's
out a
right.
plan to reach those goals. New
Ugh,
streams of income. This
yes.
is why you want a coach
Yes.
in your face with what you have.
Hello.
I'm just
Thank
saying.
you, friend. I appreciate you
I
for
don't want no
saying
one to
that.
feel left out.
No, and we don't, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't, and like you said, it doesn't matter. I've been at all the things. I've been in the bracket of like, oh Lord, I don't know where, and just like clipping the coupons and trying to figure it out. So I've been at all the things. So I appreciate you for saying that, because you know how I feel about this stuff. You know how serious I take it.
We
So
can't cover everything. So I took that little piece just to
yes,
so they don't
thank you,
get
my
and
friend.
feel like, oh, well, I have to make $50,000 to call Kyra. No, you get you an
Yeah,
appointment with
yeah,
$10,000, right? A year.
yes.
Let me,
Yeah, and that's the important,
we build.
that's it. We're trying to not be people who talk about it. We want to be about it. We don't want to just sit back
Build.
and keep making excuses. We want to just go after it, girls. We want to live this thing out. I talk about that all the time. Abundant life, the abundant life rule. You have to be active if you want to have a good life. Like you gotta go after it. You gotta be like, who do I need to talk to get this thing done? Like you gotta be really, really kind of obsessed with being the best version of yourself, and start the conversation, ask the right questions, definitely talk, have the conversation with yourself first, I think. And then, like you just said, like my friend said so well, get with an expert, get with someone that can actually help you. Don't keep scrolling on Instagram, watching all these crazy people post all these videos that some of this stuff I'm like, oh my God, I would never do that. Get with someone who actually knows the right things to say. And I wanted to give you guys a couple journal prompts, a couple things that you can write down. My friend has a wonderful journal. She can talk a little more about that before we go, but she has a wonderful journal for you that you can purchase, and you can start journaling and talking to yourself and having those conversations with yourself. So today, I am going to give you homework. If you could sit down, give yourself permission to pause, ask yourself these two questions. First one is, what silent burdens am I carrying? And what would it feel like if I set one down? So what if I took one of these bricks out the bag? How would I feel? And then the second question is, when was the last time I felt financially safe? And what small step could I take to get back there? We have given you tons of little things to do that would help with both of these questions, I think, today. I'm going to drop these questions in the show notes as well, so they'll be there. But I think give yourself permission to pause with these two. And I wanted to turn it back over to you, my friend. Do you want to add anything, leave anything for our listeners before we head out?
Sure. I wanted to make sure that we added in the counterbalance, standing in between your battles. It doesn't, if there's multiple, you can choose two, you can slim it down, you could put them all there, but I want you to get a word to each of the battles that are there for you, because they are yours. They're yours. That's your
They're
life.
yours.
Okay. Your battles are your gifts initially, right?
Yes.
And then I want you to ask yourself, not that every problem can be resolved immediately, not that every circumstance could change immediately, but what I do want you to ask yourself is, how do you want to feel about the circumstance that's there to challenge you? How do you want to feel? I just want you to know you're in control, even when things are out and feel like they're out of control. You are still the bomb piece. You are still the person. You're the most important person in all your
Yes.
circumstances.
Yes.
Be at that.
So good.
Get the journal, Why Therapy, Why Not? Grab it, start it. Let me know how you're feeling. Put it in comments so we could talk back with you.
For sure. Please, if you love this conversation, if we said something that stuck out to you, or maybe it's not for you, maybe you're not a single mom, but maybe you know someone that could use this. So we're gonna ask you sincerely that you subscribe, leave a comment, and share it. So I'm gonna ask you to do that, and definitely check out the journal. We'll link it in the show notes. So definitely check out all the goodies there. And don't worry, you'll see us again, and we'll see you next time on Beyond the Numbers.